This is the original document of the First Geneva Convention. Today, it's included in a total of 4 Geneva Conventions, and together, they all establish a range of protections for victims in armed conflict around the globe. The main individual behind the initiation of the Geneva Conventions is a man known by the name of Henri Dunant. Born as Jean-Henri Dunant, this Swiss businessman worked in a corn-growing and trading business in French-occupied Algeria in the 1850s. Because France wasn't particularly competent in the designation of land and water rights in Algeria, Dunant decided he would personally appeal to the French Emperor Napoleon III at his headquarters in the small town of Solferino. When Dunant finally arrived in northern Italy on June 24, 1859, he personally witnessed the catastrophe that was the aftermath of the Battle of Solferino. Dunant was mortified. This enormous battle between the Franco-Sardinian alliance and the Austrian army left approximately 23,000 sick and wounded soldiers with practically no medical assistance whatsoever. In response to the devastation, Dunant worked to convince locals to treat the wounded, and he personally paid for medical supplies to plant improvised hospitals. Dunant's pursuit was so successful that the French agreed to release captured Austrian doctors to help treat the ill and wounded. Upon returning to Geneva, Henri Dunant wrote his famed book Un souvenir de Solferino, in which he explained his experience. Published in 1862, the document articulately advocated for national voluntary relief organizations as well as international treaties to ensure medics were afforded basic protections. On February 9th in 1863, Dunant created an investigatory commission under the Geneva Society for Public Welfare, called the Committee of Five. This commission included the lawyer Gustave Monnier, the Swiss Army General Guillaume-Henri Dufort, the surgeons Théodore Monnois and Louis Sapia. By late October in 1863, the commission, renamed the International Committee for Relief to the Wounded, organized a conference that was attended by 36 official and non-official government as well as foreign delegates. Together, the various parties attending discussed how to bring medical care to those caught in sites of armed conflict. The conference managed to produce concrete proposals, and about 1 year later, the government of Switzerland organized a diplomatic conference, officially inviting the US, Mexico, Brazil, and all European countries. With representatives from 12 states in attendance, on August 22, 1864, the conference finally adopted the Geneva Convention for the amelioration of the condition of the wounded and sick in armed forces in the field. This treaty did 3 basic things: protected combatants that were no longer able to participate in battle because of illness or injury, protected and ensured neutrality to all medical personnel that sought to treat wounded soldiers or civilians, and it initiated the International Committee of the Red Cross. The first Geneva Convention set the precedent for the next 3 conventions that would extend protections to victims of shipwrecks and battles at sea, elaborate on what constitutes prisoners of war, establishing standards for their treatment, and also established humanitarian protections for civilians who weren't involved in battle. It is one of the most important documents in human history. Before its inception, there had been no formulated nursing systems or adoption of safeguards for medics in times of war. And although innumerable states have yet to adhere to the Geneva Conventions to this day, the treaties provide the foundation for some of the most elaborate and comprehensive humanitarian relief efforts in the world.